Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's Big Bites of Rise Up, Ignite Your Life, the Phoenix and the Ferryman. So, I am super excited to be with you guys tonight. There is so much going on, and I have brought to you a guest who is a new friend, a dear friend, and her name is Kimberly Lechnick, and she is a powerhouse of a woman who is bringing the voices of women who are changing the world to the public. So just to take a moment to welcome Kimberly. Hi.
Hi. Hi, Krista. How are you doing this evening?
So good, so good. I'm very excited to have you because my favorite shows are the shows that I get to do with people that I've actually had the opportunity to really connect with, and that I know that what they're doing is so heart-centered and that they're like truly genuine in their heart-centered claims.
Yeah.
So our show is generally about overcoming the challenges in our life, overcoming trauma, and how that influences the way that we put ourselves out into the world. So, before we get into the really amazing things that you're doing now, let's go back a little bit and talk about what brought you here, who you are as a person, and what brought you here. So, what is your story?
Oh my goodness. What brought me here? Sometimes I have to think like, what did bring me here, right? And like, how did I get here, right? Because I just feel like I'm an ordinary person. I'm just a person who's living life like everyone else. Um, but I believe that there's two reasons why we're here, right? The two most important reasons that Mark Twain always is reminding us through his legacy, and that is the day we were born, right? Is the most important, and why we're here. And just to know your purpose, right? And why you're here is such an honor, right? It's such an honor. So you ask me, who am I? Well, I think that's always going to be constantly evolving, right? Because as I grow, my purpose grows. My purpose led me to you, so it led me to you. And, thank you so much for that kind introduction. But really, honestly, you are a powerhouse woman in your own right, living your truth, living your purpose, and out there doing absolutely amazing things. So thank you.
Thank you. One of the really cool things about purpose is it has this ability to drive us without us having to push for it, without us having to make things happen. So, do you, by any chance, did you have a moment in your life when things just crystallized for you, when just all of a sudden you knew, or was it, a slow process for you?
Oh, for me, it was an absolute slow process, right? Because at first, when I was going through some of the things I was going through, I'm like, what? Like, what the heck? Like, what's going on here? You know? And then it brought me to that moment, and I know that you and I had chatted about it, when I was 15 in my cup, that was one of the first like moments where I'm like, whoa, if I can get through this, like, what's next? What is next? Because I'll tell you, as a 15-year-old person, you know, um, just all the drama and trauma that was going on. And just to let your audience know, I lived a lot of my life not even recognizing or validating it like it was trauma. I just looked at it as like something that was happening, right? But just in that moment when I was 15 and my cup was just so full and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling so heavy, even with the dancing that I was gifted with. I was gifted with movement, and that movement really helps me release a lot of my emotion. And I learned that really easily, that I was in tune with my body. And I was often in tune with my body through dance. But I would have to say that was the first moment where I was feeling shifted, that I was feeling like, okay, but I think that there's lily pads, if you will, that I continue to jump onto that has led me to this moment. And again, where I am today. So I think that for me, I would have to say that learning and leaning into our purpose, the reason why we are, each and every one of us are here, is an absolute process. It's not something that we just wake up and say, hey, wait a second, what's my purpose? No, because our purpose is something where we are going to grow into it, and then our purpose is going to grow bigger, and then we're going to grow more, right? It's not meant to be a one and done. So I hope I didn't ramble.
I think I asked the question because recently I feel like as many years as I've been coaching, I always struggled a little bit with the difference between passion and purpose.
Mm.
And I always knew, oh, my purpose is to help people. My purpose is to do whatever I could do to make the world a better place.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until the new project, it wasn't until we started the memorial project that the overwhelming clarity that this is what I was meant to do. And I think that's passion. And when passion and purpose line up, all of a sudden everything becomes easy. So all the conversations and all the people in our lives that we have, guided to, what do you want to do? What is the impact that you want to make? I just now figured out what that moment actually feels like when everything is lined up. So I was just wondering if you had like an experience like that, where not only do you know exactly what you want to do, you all of a sudden have the avenue that you want to use to do it.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarity. So if we're going to look at it that way, when I first started my journey, um, and again, I have 25 years supporting children and families. So again, that's why I'm talking about those lily pads, right? And I love what you said when you said, you know what, it was like a growing into, right? It was like, for me, God's saying to me, are you ready? No, I need to shape you some more. I need to shape you some more. So I think that moment for me was when I had joined a community, a local entrepreneurial organization. And I just loved it, right? Like, I don't know what it was, but I was into yeses. And I was like, do you want to do this? Yes. Do you want this? Yes. And they were like, what? Like, nobody just jumps around and says yes. I'm like, I just kind of knew. And I didn't know what, but I knew. And what ended up happening is then I ended up being offered this opportunity to become the relationship concierge for the whole entire community. And so I started interviewing entrepreneurs. And when you talk about that moment, I would have to say that something clicked in my mind, because I, like you, I'm coaching, right? So I'm thinking, okay, like I'm coaching, like this is my jam, right? Well, no, God's like, you know what, honey, haven't you learned by now? Haven't you learned by now? There's always something more. So
There's always something more.
there's always something more. But I want to stay on this thought, and then I want to jump to a funny. But so I was in the community, I was interviewing like hundreds of entrepreneurs, just interview after interview and interview. And what I was realizing while I was doing that was, I'm heart centered. These entrepreneurs are also heart centered, right? Something started brewing in me. I'm like, okay, God's speaking to me. He's whispering to me, and he's saying, you know what, Kimberly, you are a coach. Yes, That's the truth. But humanity needs someone that can speak up for it, who can light a fire under it. And that, my dear, is what I designed you for. And let me tell you how that kind of, if I have a few minutes, let me tell you how that kind of went. Because like you might be saying, like, what? But I often have some character flaws, like we all do, right? hmm And some of the flaws that I have can lead me into moments, maybe attracting people that I really don't need to be attracting because of my energy. And by giving me this assignment, God was saying to me, I want you to use these gifts that I gave you because these are gifts that I gave you, but I want you to use them in a specific way. I want you to use them in a specific way. And I'm going to train you like he trains us on all things. And if your listeners are, Buddha, Allah, crystals, spirituality, we are all walking together. Um, but I want to train you how to use these. Let me shape you. And so it was almost like a surrendering and saying, okay, I'm not going to run from you anymore. I'm not going to say that I know everything to the truth because I don't. And I'm going to surrender and let you guide me and tell me what you want me to do. And that's what he's been doing. So I'd say that was my moment where things started heating up. And that's how I know what you mean. When the passion and the purpose come together, that's where it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with why you're created. And how can we argue with that? How can we argue with that? We can't argue with it. We just have to surrender.
So, surrounding yourself with all of these amazing people, and now that you know you've got this circle of heart-centered entrepreneurs, what's the next step? Where do you take that?
That's a great question. And I always have my ears open, right? My ears open, my eyes are fully open, and I'm grounded into the earth, that root system taking hold. And I think that it comes down to faith. Faith and knowing, faith, but just knowing, right? Just knowing that I'm going to be guided, right? That I'm being guided. And so to say that I know what my overall vision is for Faith Rising, Feel the Fire. I know what it is for my business, my company, Intentional Pathways by Design. But it's faith. It's faith, and it's trusting in that faith for me that, again, I'm moving in the right direction. And I think that when that passion and that purpose meet, there is no pushing, there is no pushing. That it's just an allowing. It's an allowing, to unfold and know that you're in the right place and you're in that right direction. If that makes sense.
Allowing is a really important word because our human nature is very resistant. We resist each other, we resist change, we resist growth. We're comfortable even if we're uncomfortable because it's what we're used to.
Mm-hmm.
So even when it's for our highest good, even when there's so much opportunity out there, we have a tendency to resist. So, and surrender is a word people are very afraid of, but allowing almost seems a little less scary. So, it's a really useful word to just grab a hold of and say, what can I allow into my life today? What opportunities are here for me? And just notice, just be present and notice. And those are the messages. Wherever you believe they come from, those are the messages that are there for us if we stop resisting and start allowing our perfect essence to be at its best. And we do that with connection and with relationship. And you have a show, and you wanted to talk to us about a particular station that is just full of opportunities for people to make connections. So why don't you give us a little bit of background on those resources that you have for our audience?
So are you, just to be clear, are you referring to the JD3 TV network? Yeah. So we're more than, there's a lot of networks out there. There's a lot of networks out there. And, it's interesting. I may digress. I often do that. But it's really interesting because I had a few opportunities to pitch, a couple shows or actually before Faith Rising Feel the Fire, it was Empower Me Now. So I had some opportunities to pitch the show in a couple different ways. So I pitched it a couple different ways. I was invited to a handful of networks. And I thought, something doesn't in my belly, right? So we're talking about intention, allowing, something just didn't feel right. But then I had this invitation to JD3 TV. And I felt like, wow, first meeting, it was like, I'm home. I'm home. Heart-centered. Focus. The network is not just a community of people that want a show. They're a community of people that are actually a family. And they're a community of people that have the same intention that Lindsay and I do, where we want to heal humanity in some way, shape, or form. And you were talking about that confirmation. When people are gravitating towards you and you're getting introductions and you're meeting people and people are like, oh yeah, like I'm interested, that's almost without even asking. That's your confirmation, no matter what you're doing. Coaching in any arena, leading in any space, when you have that reciprocity, when you have that just natural flow where people are just folding in, that's when that's confirmation. Like there's no second guessing, there's no doubting, there's no nothing. There's that allowing just for it to unfold. And people are like, oh gosh, yes, I want to be a part of it, or I want to highlight you, or I want to do this. Oh yes, yes. How can I get involved? So that's kind of when so yeah. So JD3 TV is the platform where we are on the network that we're on. And yeah, such a wonderful place. So if any of your listeners actually have a show too, and they're interested in finding out how they can get involved, great opportunity.
And do you have your show on that channel?
Yes, Faith Rising Feel the Fire is on JD3 TV. We have 3 episodes right now. We have 3 more that are going to be uploaded in the next week. And we have 4 more coming after that. So yes, tune in to JD3 TV and check out Faith Rising Feel the Fire.
And you guys all know I will be on her show at some point in the future, and right now I don't have the date with me, but I will be promoting that show, so you guys will get even more reminder that channel and that her show is out there. And we are going to do, I believe, 2 particular episodes. So we're going to go into some deep trauma stuff, and we're going to talk about a lot of really amazing things. So If you have a show or if you have a message that you would like to be heard, if you have a story that you think would be amazing to inspire others, get a hold of Kimberly. And when we post this on Anchor, her links will be below, so you'll be able to get a hold of her. Is there anything that you want to say to everybody before we go? What is your big words of wisdom for the day?
Oh, what are those words of
Just more
wisdom?
inspiration.
Those words of wisdom, I have to say that just remember in the darkness, remember when you are in darkness, and we all experience darkness, all of us, different degrees of it. But you know what? Again, appearances are deceiving. We all have testimonies and we all have darkness. I'd like you to remember when you are in the darkness, you are not alone. You are not alone. Reach out to someone. In the time of social media and connections and the ease of connection, reach out. Reach out, because there is so much on the other side. There is purpose in our pain. You don't have to do it alone. Reach out, reach out, reach out, reach out. I cannot, in a time where mental wellness is at an all-time high, reach out, because so much beauty is going to be on the other side of it. So,
Thank you so much. And that is always our message too. No matter what is happening, no matter how alone you feel, no matter how bad it gets, we're always here for you. Just a phone call, a message away, and there are so many different resources out there available to you. So no matter what your trauma, no matter what your experience, there are people out there. There's nonprofit organizations that will help you. There are crisis hotlines. Your area has resources. So look them up, know what they are before you need them. And when you need them, use them, because your life matters.
you know, Krista, another thing popped into mind, and that is, um, and I was just having this conversation about talking about your feelings, right? You know, we often, you know, are supporting our kids in that area, right? And talking about their feelings and not allowing them to get tucked in into different corners of their body, because we don't want to hurt our bodies. It's just equally as important for adults to practice that too. And just a couple quick ways that you can do that. You can, believe it or not, you can sing. You don't have to be a professional singer. You can just sing along, turn on the radio, turn on some streaming, and start singing. If you are angry, start screaming. Who cares who hears you? If you're in your own house, if you're outside, people are doing all kinds of things these days. Scream. And you will be surprised how much better. I was at a workshop, and that's what we were doing. We were screaming as loud as we could from the belly out. And it was so cathartic. So cathartic. And you felt so empty because everything was coming up through the chest and out through the mouth. And it was like, oh, it's gone. Like, I'm fatigued. It's time for a little nap. It's time for a little tea, you know. You know, but just get those feelings out. You know, don't let them sit and stew and make some kind of recipe that we don't like. Just get them out. And you can dance like I do. Dancing is another great way to get those feelings out. If you're more quiet, painting, the creative arts, very great way to get those feelings out, but get those feelings out and then also reach out to someone. There are so many people to do that with.
Thank you. We love tools. We love tools and resources. All right. Again, we will put all of the links in when we do the anchor post. So it takes about a half an hour after we're done with the live for that to upload and get put up. But you guys will see that being available all over where podcasts are. You can get us on Spotify. You can get us on Google Podcasts. You can get us all over the place. And then you can look Kimberly up, and then I will let you know when I am on her show.
Yes, we cannot wait to have you, Krista, and to highlight all of the fantastic work that you are doing to support veterans and the community.
Thank you so much. Have an amazing evening.
You too. You too. I look forward to having you on the show. Have a great night.
All right, you guys. So Battle to Be is going to be traveling again tomorrow and the next day, and we will be updating you on our destination. We're going to keep things a little bit quiet for tomorrow, and then Wednesday afternoon, we'll be giving you guys some photos and some feedback and letting you know what's happening. So be keeping an eye out for that. And thank you so much for being with us tonight. Have an amazing evening.